Alright, what's going on, guys? I'm going to be going over how to install Arch Linux and some stuff that I have come up with to make my life personally easier, install my theme easier, get this whole kind of setup going. So we're going to go over it. I'm going to be going over, I finally figured out virtualization, so we're going to be going over how to install Arch, because Arch is intimidating to a lot of people. And it doesn't need to be. So I'm going to go over an easy way you can install Arch if you don't want to, deal with all the shenanigans of learning how to install it manually. We're just gonna, so this is what you get with a default Arch ISO, and you're just gonna type in Arch install, one word. Now Arch install is something included with the ISO. It is a installation script, essentially. So you're going to go through and you are going to, first we're going to do mirrors and repositories. We're going to select our region. I'm in the United States, so I'm going to select United States. Then I'm going to go to optional repositories. I'm going to select multilib. You always want to get multilib. Multilib is basically the repo that gives you 32-bit libraries, which, if you know about Steam, Steam is 32-bit, needs 32-bit libraries to work properly. So if you plan on gaming on Steam and stuff, it's very important you make sure you get multilib, at least for the time being. They are working on moving away from multilib, but that time is not here yet. And then we're going to go to disks and configurations. We're going to use best effort. We're going to select our drive that we want to format. I'm going to select Btrfs. You can use whatever file system you want. We're going to hit yes for a default structure on the subvolumes, and I'm going to hit yes to compression. And we're going to go back. Got the bootloader. I usually pick Grub, but you can pick whatever you want here. I'm gonna pick kernel Zen, but you can leave it as default if you want. You can change your host name, which I'm not going to bother doing here. And then there's authentication. You want to go in here and you want to make sure to set your root password. Do not forget to do this, or else you will very shortly be reinstalling your system. Then you're going to go to user account, add user. And you can just make your password. I usually just make my password the same as my root. I'm not trying to remember two different passwords. Then you're going to hit confirm and exit. Then we're going to go to profile. We're going to hit tune. We're going to hit desktop because we're doing a desktop PC. I'm going to select KDE Plasma. And then you're going to go down to graphics driver. With my NVIDIA GPU, I would normally pick the open source Nouveau driver because I usually install my drivers after the fact with CachyOS's Cache hardware detection tool that I've gone over in previous videos. You can install the proprietary drivers via Arch install. I always have problems when I do that. I don't know why. So I usually just go with the open source Nouveau driver, and then install the NVIDIA drivers after the fact. But if you have an AMD GPU, you just select AMD. If you have an Intel, you can select Intel, or you can go all open source, or you can do the NVIDIA proprietary. Because this is a virtual machine, I'm just going to select all open source. And then then I want to leave my greeter as SDDM, but you can change that if you want. Then we're going to go to applications. We're going to turn on Bluetooth, and then we're going to go to audio, and we're going to select Pipewire. We're going to leave print service alone. Then we're going to go to network configuration. We're going to select use network manager, default backend, and then additional packages. Now by default it comes with very little. Your install will, like you won't even have a browser like Firefox or anything. You'll basically have a terminal and like a couple like very core applications to KDE, and that'll be it. You won't even have like some applications that you might expect on a typical KDE install, like GwenView or Haruna, or indeed any video player. So if you want to add anything on for the sake of this video and saving myself a bit of time, I'm going to add Firefox. So you have to put a /, then you can search, and then I want to do Git. And then we're going to go down to time zone. I'm in New York, so I'm going to hit US Eastern. And I just like to go back through and make sure that I did everything I need to do. Everything looks good, so we're just going to hit install. This takes a couple minutes, depending. How long it takes really depends on what desktop environment you're installing, how many additional packages you threw on there, and of course your internet connection. If you have a really slow internet, it takes longer to install. If you need to set up Wi-Fi, there's a way you can do that as well. I'm not going over that today because I don't have Wi-Fi. Well, I mean I have Wi-Fi, but I don't use Wi-Fi. I'm hardwired. It's really not that complicated. You can look up, you can literally just Google how do I enable Wi-Fi on the Arch ISO, and it'll give you step-by-step instructions. I walked a buddy of mine through it. It really isn't that bad. Couple commands essentially. And here it's going, it's rolling away, and it's installing the Arch system. Now, there are times when Arch install breaks. It doesn't happen. It's kind of like a running joke in the Arch Linux community. Like, Arch install just constantly has problems. And it's not really because Arch install itself is bad. It's just Arch itself changes so much that like they're constantly having to update the script so it installs things properly. And sometimes it just gets out of sync, a little bit out of step with whatever the latest change in Arch is that breaks it, and sometimes it no work. So, but the good news is there are alternatives like the Arch Kalem installer, which I'll probably go over at some point. And of course, you can always go with fairly minimal distros like Endeavor OS or something if you really just want to plug and play. I prefer Arch install because it gives the most minimal system and kind of the most minimal system you're going to get outside of installing manually. So I'm going to force this off. I'm going to go in here, we're going to go to boot options. we go, we got grub. This looks wonky, doesn't it? So there we go. We've got we're gonna. So I should have mentioned in the. I should have mentioned that we should have added base devil as a additional package, just because we're gonna need it. Especially if you want to use like Peru and stuff like that, you're gonna want it anyway. So it's always a good idea to throw that in the additional packages on Arch install, but you can always install it after the fact as well. So there we go, got that installed. Now I'm going to show off something I've been working on. This is a fork of the Zero Linux Toolkit. What the hell just happened? What is happening? How do I like reverse it? I want to reboot this and hopefully that I like hit it wrong. I don't know what shortcut that's doing, or let's just try turning this back on. And hopefully, there we go. I was trying to increase my font size in the terminal, and for some reason, oh my god. How do I get rid of this? Let's see. Because if I do it here, I can zoom it out that way, but that's not working here in the virtual machine. Oh, off to Florp we go. We're gonna pause the video while I figure this out real quick. Alright, there we go. Figured it out. Gotta hold meta and minus. I've never triggered that before. But anyways, let's control. There we go. That was the proper shortcut to increase font size. So then we will try this again. No AR helper was found on the system, so I just added this too so that it can install, because the toolkit does a hard check for Peru or Yay. So now the installer will install Peru or Yay of your choice if you do not have it already installed. Just remember, you do need that base devil package or this will error out. Sheesh, it's a little slow. Guess that's to be expected since it's running in a VM, but now it's compiling the forked toolkit. Now I'm going to be making a separate video about the toolkit here later, probably in a day or two, and going more in depth on like why I did it, without getting too much into the drama behind it. But it has been something that I've been investing a lot of time in working on. Basically, I've got the Zero Linux toolkit, but I've made it so it works on any Arch system. Alright, so now toolkit's installed. We're just going to go to customization. We're just going to log out, log back in. And there we go. That's even laggier because of the blur effects. God, this is really laggy. But yeah. Well, there you have it. And now it's all set up. We've got a pretty good system going here with the CyberZero toolkit. We can also come down here. We can add the CachyOS repos, install the Chaotic KUR, add the Zero Linux repos. We've got a forked version of Zero Linux's X Package Manager, forked versions of the fingerprint reader, the Howdy Face unlock that's been jailbroken to work on the system there. Yeah, so it does work. That's pretty much it, guys. That's going to get you a pretty nice setup there, and then you can go from there. That's pretty much all you got to do. But that's going to be it for me this time. I will talk to you guys soon. Keep an eye out for that video. See you later.